Most chefs will never make more than $100,000 a year, and even if they do, they will have to sacrifice everything else. They run in restaurants for 10, 15, sometimes 20 years, only to burn out or end up knowing that they are replaceable. But there is another path, one where you can make 15, 20, sometimes $30,000 every single month. Working on your own terms, having the level of creativity and fulfillment that you're looking for, and finally, having a life outside of the kitchen without having to work 70 or 80 hours every single week. But let's be real, this is not for everyone. In today's video, I'll give away for free the exact blueprint that took me from being a broke chef working 75 hours a week in a fine dining restaurant to making over $20,000 per month consistently for years with my own private chef business. Let's get into it.
Ladies and gents, this training specifically is not for someone that is cooking in a fast food or in a quote-unquote greasy spoon dinners. This game requires a lot of excellence and finesse. No disrespect, by the way. Also, if you claim to be a chef and been in the industry for 10, 15, 20 years or plus, but you never really took a real risk or even a high position, like if you say that you've been a sous chef, an executive chef, but you've been doing this for 6 months, it's like, that is not really the place to be needed right now. And you're also someone who struggled through school, had awful grades, and as of right now, can't really communicate and articulate properly. Communication is too important in that type of business, specifically in the people that you have to meet on a daily basis. And finally, if you try to get in business because you're struggling financially, and that's the main reason why you want to make more money, this isn't going to work out neither. Like, you need to work on yourself first, and then try to go and help other people. Now, who this training is actually for? Well, for someone that is an experienced fine dining a Michelin chef with fine dining a Michelin background experience, and not somebody that claimed to have this experience, but after like 3.5 shift, decided to quit because it was too hard. If you're also a grown adult, man or woman, that feel financially responsible, what I mean by that is that you know that starting a business is risky, but you're actually willing to take that risk and to take that leap, while also being aware that it's not going to be like $1,000 or $2,000. You won't need tens of thousands of dollars to start a private chef business, but I always suggest to people to have at least a 5 to 10. More the better. You also need to have time for yourself. So if you're working 70, 80, 90 hours a week, this is just not going to work out. You should have a job right now that isn't taking you more than 40, 45 hours a week, 50 maximum. And if you're right now working more than 50 hours a week, then you should be open to quit your job and find another job that will support you until you go full-time with your private chef activity. And finally, I just want to make sure that you actually know that this isn't going to be a get-rich-quick type of scheme. It won't happen overnight. On average, it takes 4 to 7 months for somebody to come on board and go from nothing to $10,000 to $15,000 a month. If you're still with me right now, that means that you can see yourself in what I just described, and then we can actually keep going. Let's dig into the phase number 1, which is going to be what I call get some dollars and experience. By the way, if you already have money set aside that you're willing to invest in your business, you still want to be in that position. You still want to be in that phase anyway, because extra money, it's, you'll never be opposed to it, and you want to get experience anyway. So that phase will take 100 or 180 days. Technically, you don't really want to be close to 180 days, so that means that you're really tight financially, and that, again, might not be the best option for you right now. But ideally, this phase should be between 30 to 90. But if you need more, that just means that you need more money, and that's okay. There, you want to do 3 things. The first one is to be stress-free. Stress-free by what? By actually collecting and saving money that you'll be able to reinvest in your business. That is the only purpose of doing this phase right now, is to get a job, 40 hours job, usually not a full-time position and not somewhere where people will expect you to be there for the next 3 years. You're only there to make extra money, okay? And my own experience when I was doing this back in the day, I had a chef job where I was working 25, 30 hours a week, paid $20, $22 an hour. That was fine. People knew that I was just here for the money. And then at night, I will work in a bar, and that's something that I highly recommend you guys to do to get more experience, where I'll be in contact with already those, wealthy types of individuals. I wouldn't try to get clients from that, but I will just push myself to be in an environment where I'll start communicating with those people. Just be more comfortable to be close to them. Okay, so I'll actually be a waiter in a think it was like a gin bar. Okay, they were only serving gin, and I was in Switzerland. So Switzerland, if you don't know, like most people actually make a really good amount of money. Okay, so in this phase again, you want to do three things, which is being stress free by making money that you can actually save. Okay, by having a job, maybe a second job, night job works usually pretty well. Floor / waiting job are usually paying even better than shift jobs because you have tips. For example, in that bar specifically, I was making maybe like $200 a night for 4 hours of work. So it was pretty good. I made sure to be in a position where financially I wasn't spending more than $1,500 a month in bills, which also helped me a lot to actually save more money. I was getting experience by getting closer to those people and being able to develop my communication skills. And then I was buying myself back some time because I wouldn't work more than 45 hours every single week, which will leave me free at least an extra 30 to 40 hours where I'll be able to actually perform if I was getting private chef jobs, which we'll get in a second. Okay, so that's the first phase. First phase, you want to get experience, which is a flow experience, which is a communication experience. You don't have to find like a waiter job. You can just find a job where you'll have to communicate with others, which is usually sales. You don't want to have a commission only type of job because you don't want to struggle, you want to base, but ideally you don't want to be stuck in a kitchen only because this is something that you'll have to get used to get out. Okay? So it's the first phase. The second phase will take definitely not more than 30 days, which is finding your first gig. And you'll see that here, you don't want to go and start knocking doors trying to take on your shoulders something that you never did before. So you won't look for a private chef client, you'll look for a company type of client. What I mean by that is that you want to get a job from someone else. You want to get a job from an already existing private chef company or private chef agency, but a small one, or a catering company. They already have the client, they already have the job, you're already an experienced chef, and you want to get closer to those people. Well, guess what? In this phase, you might already find that company already. But the idea here is to take on that gig and doing it yourself. Be the actual private chef in charge of the whole event. And getting into that position where you're actually able to find that company to trust you to take and charge the event, not be responsible to find the client because they already have the client, be in charge of doing the event, shouldn't take you more than 30 days. Okay, I'm being really like 7 days to 30 days will be like really the maximum. Here, you're not looking to make good amount of money. You'll get paid where you get paid. You might not even get paid better than what you'll be doing here because you'll still be quote unquote an employee. Okay, but at least you want to get experience and underpromise and overdeliver just to start getting used to delivering an amazing service at a really high level quality. What you'll be doing here though is to already invest some of the money that you made into creating branding assets. What is a branding asset? Is hiring a video producer to record you the entire day and either paying a little bit more to edit everything that he recorded. So you've got already, your branding essence, your piece of content that you can post on social media, or not paying it more and doing it yourself. Today in 2025, you go on YouTube and on ChatGPT, and then you can ask me for help also. I'm not a video editor, but I spend more than 5 hours on YouTube. But today with 5 hours on YouTube and getting help at ChatGPT on like what tools to use for free, you can already have great editing materials that you get from the videos that'll be videos and pictures taken by the video producer. Okay, so you can either pay an extra $500 for that person to do it for you, or you can just ask them to give you everything raw, okay, hours of content that you'll be editing yourself, and you end up with like just 1 day of performance with maybe 40, 50, 60 different pictures and videos that you'll be able to use for your Instagram. Okay, here, disclaimer. You don't do this when I'm saying like, then you'll use this for Instagram to blow up your social media and build up your resume. Blowing up your social media doesn't mean that you start looking for clients and becoming viral and attracting followers, because I see you coming and be like, but Julian, I don't have followers. We don't care about this. And neither the people that you'll be looking for later down the line. An executive in a tech company that is tech executive is making 10 million a year that you'll potentially work for full time doesn't give a single fuck about you and having 1,000, 10,000, 100,000 followers. Okay, what he cares about is you being able to reach that person and provide him what he's actually looking for. That is all those people care about. However, in order for you to show them what you can actually do, well, you need a social media. Because guess what? It is much easier to post on social media, to have everything up, to actually go and build a website. Building a website costs thousands of dollars, and if you do it yourself, it's going to be a fucking headache. Okay? So you don't want to do this. You just want to have an Instagram account with everything posted consistently, which allows you to, use this like as a book or as a portfolio. But on top of this, kind of like start posting daily. So every time that you meet somebody, even if they tell you no, well, now you have them on Instagram, and now they can actually start seeing your content, so you can then nurture them. Okay, a nurturing sequence is you providing content of everything you do on a daily basis to keep to stay in people's head, in people's mind, until the day they decide to work with you. Because somebody that isn't willing to work with you today might be tomorrow or next week or next month or next year. So you always want to make sure to nurture those people, and social media is a great place to do that. Okay? I hope that till that point everybody's with me and that all makes sense. So we can actually go to the phase number three. This phase shouldn't last more than 60 days. If it does, that means that you getting really a lot of gigs, but you don't want to take up too much neither, because the idea here is you want to get out of this position as soon as possible to move to the next phase, which I'll break down for you in a second. But ideally, it shouldn't take you more than 2 months. And the reason why it doesn't have to take you more than 2 months is because what you want to do is duplicate. You want to duplicate what you did here 5, 10, 50 times, no more than this. And the reason why you don't want it to take more than 2 months is what is going to happen if you're able to actually gather 15 events in 2 months, which, by the way, when you work for another company, you'll be able to do that. Those people already built up the clientele. They have job for you as long as you perform, okay? If you actually take on those like 15 gigs within like 2 months, what happens is that you build momentum. The more you win, the more you want to win. And the more you win in the shortest amount of time, the more momentum you build, the more excitement, the more motivation, the more energy you get to move to the next phase, which is really important. When you move into that phase number 4, you want to come and feel really, really strong. Okay? So that's the reason why I don't want you to take like 3 or 6 months in that phase. Okay? Remember that you're working for somebody else here, so you're not getting paid well. So you just want to utilize this and obviously not move to the phase number 4 with only 1 or 2 gigs experience in your resume. Okay? So in that phase, obviously, you're going to do the same thing as above. You work for someone else again. You're not the person that is looking for the clients. You're still under-promise and over-deliver. You blow up your social media, but this time not with another video producer that you'll be spending, investing $1,000 or $2,000. Because if you do this for each event, then like after 15 events, you invest like $30,000. It makes no sense. This time, you got a blueprint. Because you show the video producer kind of like doing the job. What you can do is just hire your like little cousin, okay, like the 15 years old in your family for like a day, $100 you pay him, and he records you the entire day, okay? Just want to make sure that you actually have a good phone, okay? When I'm saying a good phone, it's like an iPhone Pro, okay? Do a great job. I don't know for Android, I use iPhone, but you want to make sure that you actually have a good quality phone, and then record you the entire day. And then at this time, obviously, you won't pay anybody to do all the edits and everything, but you want to make sure that every time that you go on an event, from the moment where you leave your house to go to a market or to some vendors to buy products, to the moment where you're back at home, writing down the menu, thinking on site, trying to deploy everything, start to organize, do the prep, serve the clients, finish the client, record the client. If the company that you work for allow you to do this, you want to record every single thing. Okay, people don't just want to have plate pictures or table pictures. Okay, they want to have everything. They want to see you in the morning, like drinking your coffee and writing down the menu. That excites people. This is the reason why you want to use social media. Okay, so this time again, you find somebody, you pay $50 for the day, $100 for the day, whatever, and they record you for like 5 hours, and then you'll spend the time at home to re-edit everything, or pay somebody on Upwork that $5 an hour or something to do the job for you. Okay, but you don't want to spend too much money in that phase. You did it for the first time to have really, really good material and have a blueprint and how to do it yourself the next time. But then when you're there, you wanna get volume. Okay, with a good phone, good video quality, but you don't need to have somebody else that you pay $1,000 for the day. Sounds good? When you arrive there, you're a professional. When you arrive there in this phase number 4, which is working with private chef agencies or not, you have experience. You are a private chef. And the reason why you want to do this right now and not before is that 99% of the private chef agencies that exist in the United States or the entire world will never hire you if you actually don't have previous private chef experience. And that's the thing. That's the reason why most chefs never end up being private chef. It's because they think that the only way for them to actually become a private chef is to work with those agencies. And then when they get close to those agencies, they're like, oh, but Julian, like I cannot work. I never had private chef experience. It's like, yes, because you actually haven't done this properly. If you follow those 3 steps and you arrive to the agency and you actually follow the blueprint that I'm going to give you right now, I can guarantee you that you are going to be hired by no matter the agency that you'll be looking for. Okay? So, my take on working with agencies and all, I genuinely believe that working with private chef agencies in the beginning of your career is the best move that you can actually make. Staying within the agency model to build your own career is the worst move that you can actually make. 2 reasons why. The first one is because they control the clientele. So that means that if something happens within that company, you don't have zero fucking control about it. Like if you were actually working for a restaurant or for a hotel, they can get rid of you at any single time. So you might be making great money for years, and then one day, poof, they disappear because they go bankrupt, because they change direction, because the husband divorced with his wife. I mean, you know how like things go. That's the first reason. The second reason is, yes, the money is great, but it will be even better if that was your client, because then they wouldn't take like a 20, 30, 40, maybe a 50% cut on everything you make. Because at the end of the day, you will never know how much they charge that client. You might be making 10 grand a month, 15 grand a month, 20 grand a month, but you will never know how much they actually charge the client. And that's the difference that you should be willing to lose and to sacrifice if you actually don't build your own clientele. So on one hand, you make less money. On the second hand, you never actually really protected by having control over your clientele because they do. Okay? That's a great move to get started because, again, they put your foot in the door, you start actually making really good money, they have really long-term contract, and that start building even more your resume when you're actually ready to go and start knocking doors to acquire clients by yourself, which is going to be the next phase, by the way. Here, I'm running 30 to 45 days. You can push. Obviously, if you find an agency that places you within a family for 6 months, go for it. Just don't stay comfortable. Get the 6-month experience, and within the 6 months, when you're actually starting working for that client, you're already in that phase we'll get into and start actually building up your own clientele. Okay? You don't want to stay there for years. You want to get one client and get out. Okay? Unless it's like a weekend or like a week client, then you want to get a little bit more. But yeah. Okay? So ideally 30 to 45 days, 30 to 60. But if you actually get a 6-month client, a 3-month contract or something like this, just go for it. But remember to not stay comfortable and to actually work on getting a full-time role while you're actually in the position. Okay? So how you actually get into an agency. What's the first step? The first one is to actually create a list of every single American agency that exists and worldwide agencies. If you go on ChatGPT, you will find thousands of them. Okay, almost if you actually really dig into ChatGPT, it'll just like how many private chef agencies exist in the US. Like you'll need to actually develop more the AI before getting really the answer that you want. You'll be able to find close to 100. If you're too lazy to do so, DM me the word list on Instagram. My Instagram is Julian with 2L, Julian _ Copano, COPP, like Patrick, ANO _ Message me on the certified account, okay, the blue badge account. It's the only account that I'm on, and send me the word list, and then I'll send you the list that I've found for myself and for my students. We have over 50 different private chef agencies, okay, inside of the United States. But if you do it on your own in ChatGPT, you'll be able to find even more than that, okay? Once you have access to those 50 agencies, and by the way, if you don't DM me the list and you do it by yourself, like, don't find like 5 agencies. Like, por favor. Like, if you actually like find 5 agencies and then you go and you start reaching out to them and then you don't get any answer and you're like, Julian, like, I didn't find a gig. You're like, yeah, dickhead, like you message 5 people. It's like, what if you actually message 100 people? Like, we will have the same conversation? Like, of course not, okay? So make sure to actually find them all right? Then what you want to do is to send an email to every single one of those agencies, okay? Same. If you don't know how to actually write this first email, send me a message on Instagram. I'll give you the exact template that will double the conversion or the chance to actually get a reply and a positive reply. As soon as you send an email to every single agency, give them a call. This is no negotiable. You want to give a call and not one call. Every time that you call, first, you call twice. One call is always 2 calls. And if they don't reply today, call back tomorrow. Twice. If they don't reply tomorrow, send a little text. If they don't reply to that text, call them the next day. And you want to do this for at least 5 days. Again, if you call one time and then you send me a message in a week telling me like, nobody answered me. I'm like, yes, I know. I've mentioned to you to call those people 10 times. Okay? Don't call them more than 10 times, by the way. But 100 agencies, calling each of them 10 times, like you're going to have more than you can actually take on. Okay? After this, Yeah. So I was my bad. You want to follow up with them, okay? So follow up means actually not just calling them once, but actually calling them multiple times. If they haven't answered you for 5 days, don't give up. Build a follow up sequence per email, per text on the social media. What is a follow up sequence? It's going to be messages, emails, branding assets that you created on Instagram that you provide to those people every day, every 2 days, every week to remind them that you exist. And not just with like a message like, hey, question mark. Hey, are you here? Question mark. Hey, did you die? Question mark. No, like branding assets of you performing as a private chef as you've been doing for the last 3 months. Okay? And nurture those people. You don't want just to be now. You're doing business with really high level individuals. Private chef agencies are really successful businesses and they want to work with really successful people also. So show them that you're not just a chef, because guess what? A private chef isn't just a chef. If you guys are already based in Austin, in Dallas, in New York, in Los Angeles, in San Francisco, those agencies are already there. Go in person. Because guess what? If they don't answer the phone, they will have to answer you in person. And most private chefs will never do this. So that gives you already an advantage when you even go in person. Most private chefs will never do this anyway. But like if you do all of this and on top of this you go in person, it's like I'm telling you guys, it's like if you do all those things, like you cannot lose. Okay? Which is the last step of this specific phase, that you'll get a role. And when you get a role, guess what happened? You go back here, you underpromise, and you overdeliver every single time. This is the moment. If you saw this, me talking on Instagram the other day about, okay, what matters the most first, like quantity or quality? Well, quantity first, because you can only find quality within quantity. And the example I gave, it's like, how much better were you doing a beurre blanc between the first time and 100 times? Well, you're much better when you did it 100 times. It's the same thing with being able to perform a private chef event, a private chef performance. Not just about the food you cook. The food you cooked it like 100 times, but cooking in front of those people, having to communicate with them, making sure that you're responsible for the entire show. This is something that you might have never done before. So there is always a certain level of, stress that is there. Which is the reason why you always want to underpromise and overdeliver and make sure that people have an unforgettable experience working with you. Okay? So at this moment, guys, you are in a phase where, again, you're working with those agencies, you're making really good amount of money. You're like, life is changing right now. You quit all your jobs, okay? You're not like, you don't have a chef job anymore. You don't have like a bar or a waiting job anymore. You are a private chef full time, and it's time for you to find a full time role by yourself without any third partner. This phase shouldn't take you more than 60 days. If it does, it shouldn't take you more than 3 to 4 months. But again, if you actually do properly what we are going to go over right now, there is no reason why it should take you more than 2 months if you actually do those things daily. Okay? And remember, when you're a private chef and you work with those agencies, you don't work 80 hours a week. Okay? So you'll have time to do those things on a daily basis. How to land a full-time role without an agency. Now, guys, I want you to understand that your life is changing. And if your life is changing, the identity that you have as a person is also changing and should actually change. So the first thing you want to do is to level up your social game. What do I mean by leveling up your social game? You want to buy new clothes. And buying new clothes doesn't mean buying Gucci or Louis Vuitton. It just means going to a clothing brand, a clothing line, and buy things that, like, when you look at yourself in the mirror, you're like, I look great. I feel like looking at me in the mirror right now makes me feel like these clothes makes me feel more confident, makes me feel like I can take up the work. And you don't need to spend $1,000 to do this. You're definitely going to need to spend a few hundred, but no thousands. Okay? So go and get new clothes. If you've got a shitty car, rent a fucking car to arrive at your client's house. Don't rent like a Mercedes or a Lamborghini. Just like rent like a Toyota, like a 2020 Toyota that is clean, that looks good. That looks like it has like 20,000 miles on it. No more than that. Why? Because your client, more than likely, even if they don't drive a Lamborghini, they drive, a good car, they driving a clean car. Let's call it this way, because ultimately that represents the image that you have of yourself and of your company. You don't want to rent a Mercedes or Lamborghini, but rent something that you'll be proud of to go out with. Buy a watch. The first watch that I bought for myself was like $1,700, so it wasn't Rolex, was in an Audemars Piguet, but it was a nice watch, and it felt good every single day to go at work and to actually wear it. It just made me genuinely feel good about myself and about the ability to spend $1,700 on a watch and not worry about, am I going to be able to pay my bills next month? Go in a fancy restaurant or lounge and start to actually connect with other people. Even if you don't do this with the purpose of finding clients, which at some point you should, and we'll get into it, start to get into that environment. Like if you already were that person, like if you were there, and people will look at you and be like, dude, like I'd like to connect with that person. Like I know that socially, I know that intellectually, I know that emotionally, that person is a high level individual. So go in those fancy restaurants that you've actually cooked for years in. Go in those fancy lounge. Fly once in business and start talking to people that are sitting next to you that also fly business. By the way, flying business, not first class, business on a like 7 hours, a 10 hours trip. If you buy the ticket at the end, it costs only a few hundred more than if you were flying fucking economic. Just so you know, guys. Okay. So if I'm doing like Paris to New York, I'll pay what, like 500, maybe 600 or 700 for the flight, flying in economic. If I buy the ticket at the end, and at the airport, the day at the airport, I actually ask if there is still remaining on business, which usually they are. For like 300, like 500, they upgrade you, and you've got the best flying experience of your life. To do it, get a premium gym membership, access a private club or a golf course. You want to make sure that you start reinvesting the money that you made and level up your social circle. For you to start experiencing this and feel how it feels, but also to get to know those people. Now, in the environment that you'll be actually working with, remember that at this moment, guys, you're actually working for one or a few of those agencies, okay? This phase is kind of like you're physically in the same area that you were there because you're still working for the agency, right? Usually, because you're working for a really wealthy person, you are in a really wealthy environment. Most wealthy people don't live in the middle of nowhere. They usually live with other wealthy people, around other wealthy people. So you want to start connecting with other people that are also in contact on a daily basis with other wealthy people. And that's how you start building a network. Make friends with vendors. Be the friend of the baker. Be the friend of the butcher, of the winery, of any special / premium products type of shops. Go at the bar, like the local bar of like the city or the town that you actually work, right, for that client, and talk to the painter, the plumber that are in charge of those big houses. And again, just become a friend of those people. Don't look for them to give you the number of their client. Just become friends with those people because those people are like you. They made the decision to step out of their comfort zone and stop working for everyday people. They are only working for the wealthiest people on earth. And if you start providing value to them by being their friend and asking questions about their life and just getting to know each other, well, guess what was going to happen? One day they'll give you a call and they'll be like, dude, like, I remember that you're a private chef. Like, don't you actually want to cook for those people that I work for? Because I know they had a private chef and they have nobody right now. Oh, they had a private chef and he just left. Oh, the private chef didn't come to work today. You got my point. You know that like this is how you actually build a network and this is how you start creating opportunities. And from there, once you've actually got used to do those things, after, again, like 1 week, 2 weeks, then you want to start talking to 1 to 3 new person every single day. Everywhere you go, everywhere you walk outside, you want to make sure that you force yourself to talking to 1 to 3 more person every single day. And then we'll dig into how you could actually go from talking to one person to actually get their phone number and either go through a discovery session where you propose them at the end of this discovery session, your private chef services, or get to know all those people because they could become a friend that could later down the line provide you with those clients. Okay? So, yes, guys. This is it. This is what it takes to go from living your cooking job and not even knowing where to go to 6 to 7 months from now being a private chef full time because you stepped out of your comfort zone, you start working for other companies that are already doing what you want to do, moved out of those companies with really solid branding assets, hours, if not days of experience in a portfolio, in a resume that you can then give in the ads of private chef agencies that will love to hire you because right now they're battling to actually place proper trained private chef inside of these multi-million-dollar houses, to being able, while you're working with those private chef agencies, to build a network on the side for a month, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. This is a long-term type of game, and ending up one day inside of a house that is your fucking client, not buddy, is actually controlling this, and you're signing that contract, yearly contract for $200,000. This is the end of this training. Let me know if you have any questions, and like always, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.